Yep. All right.
Yeah, just to see if there's anything that I needed to know.
All right, everybody. Want to welcome you to this Presto basketball training seminar. So we will have this webinar available to everybody after this on the NAI YouTube page. Can I remind everyone, if you have not, please mute. Thank you very much. So we will have this available on the NAI YouTube page after this is over. But please feel free to ask questions. If you do have questions, you can put those into the chat and you can address them to me or you can address them to Charles and we will get your questions answered. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Alex Horick and he is going to walk us through basketball on the Presto Network.
Thanks, Brad, and thanks everyone for joining here. Hopefully this will look somewhat familiar for you guys who have used Presto Stats for sports in the fall. But we'll just go through some of basketball and maybe some of the differences you see with basketball. So to start, I think what we did for previous sports, we're just going to do a test game in our Try Presto Stats. If you don't have access to this site or you have never logged in, please let me know. This is where we highly recommend you test out games and do demos. If you don't have log information, please send in an email to us, web@Presto Sports, and we can hook you up with that so you can test on your own if you guys want to. So with that, I'll launch the stats for the game, very similar to every other sport here. And then same thing, you'll have a choice of either live scoring the event or using score sheet entry. For this, we'll go for live scoring. That's where you're doing play-by-play. You're presumably at the game or somebody's at the game scoring it live. You can also use score sheet entry if you just want to enter in the box score and everything like that after the game. So we'll choose live scoring here. Then the first thing you'll see, there's some fields that will need to be filled out in order for us to proceed here. So the first one is location. So we'll click edit there. Then you'll see arena venue, that's location. You'll have that red asterisk there. So we need something in here. So we'll just fill out test arena for the purposes of this. Also on this setup page, you can kind of change the settings if you want to. So like here, you can change the visitor and the home team. Let me make sure I have the right visitor home team here. Okay, so yeah, so stats one, like this is the Brooklyn Nets, I think we have it in, and I believe they're playing the Bucks. So like you can change this if you want. It won't be stats one, stats two, it'll obviously be the team name, but you can change that if you want. You can also adjust things like attendance, officials, notes, and anything like that. Also, if you're playing quarters or halves, you can adjust that. You can adjust how many minutes are in each period, how long overtime is, but you can certainly set that up before you start scoring the event. So we'll keep it at 20-minute halves for now, and we'll save. So game setup, you're good to go. Next here, you have a roster manager's prompt. In order to score the game, you'll need at least 5 starters for each team if you're scoring it live. So we'll click edit here. We'll see here we have the Brooklyn Nets. So you have all the players. If you've entered your roster into Presto from game day, like if you signed into prestosports.com/admin, you'll have a roster tab similar to this. If you've entered your roster here, your players will automatically appear and they'll automatically sync when they get stats. So before you do launch Presto Stats for your first game, you want to make sure that you have your roster in there. But once you do, it'll kind of look like this. And so we'll set the starters here. Make this somewhat realistic.
I presume to know what the Nets would do.
Okay, so we set the starters there for the Nets, and now because we're doing live scoring, we'll also need to set it for the visitors as well. So here we have the Bucks, so we'll do the same thing here. We'll go with the big lineup. So once you set your starters for both teams, you'll be prompted here where you can now start adding plays. And this is what should look similar for other sports as well, whether that's football or soccer, or whatever you have experience with Presto. But you'll see your lineup here for stats 1 and stats 2. And then you'll have all these inputs here. We do also have a cheat sheet from our help center, and I can drop a link here, maybe at the end or something, but this is what I would have up if you're scoring for the first time, or if you're not familiar with the keys here. You can use these keys if you're familiar with StatCrew or us to input plays. You can also click here. You can click these icons, but I would maybe have these up here just in case, maybe you don't know how to set the clock or want to start a play over, or forgot how to do a couple of things in Presto Stats because it's been a while maybe for some of you guys. But I would just have this up just in case you want to use keys. If not, all fails, you can always use the buttons here. So to start actually scoring, you can set the clock here, or you can start the clock if you want it to have be running. If you click it, you'll see it starting to count down. And then you can start adding plays. Either you can stop it and add a play, or you can just have it continually running. So we'll stop it, and I'll put a jump shot here, or probably we want to do, jump shot here. Good field goal. Choose who's the assist. We'll say Middleton. So you can see jumper good by Brook Lopez, 952, assist by Giannis. And that's the first play. Now for this play or any other play, you can always click edit here, and you can change kind of like who scored. Maybe you got the wrong person who scored, you can change that. And then just kind of go through each field there. And now Bobby Portis made the field goal. So you can always come in and edit each play. Additionally, something I'll note here is as long as when you're keeping Presto stats and you see this green arrow here, that means the stats have saved to our network. So what that means, if we go to your schedule here, and this is a little clunky because of how many test games we've had, but if we go to the game here that we're working on, we can see there's something called a change log. So every change that you've made is saved to the network. So we'll see that jumper that we've added. And then we can always revert back to a point in the game through here as well. If you click view here before I added that jumper, you'll see the box score before I entered anything. So no bucket or no anything. And then you could always revert back to make that the official part of the game. But just want to make sure you guys know where that is in case, maybe you age a quarter, maybe go to the third quarter and it's actually the second quarter. You can always go back and revert back from this change log here. But more basketball specific things, hopefully it should be pretty straightforward. Basketball isn't too complicated to score from what I've seen, but again, you can run the clock here. You can insert a foul by Harden. You can have free throws. Good free throw by Brook Lopez. Add another free throw, maybe Brook Lopez again, and we'll say it's an offensive rebound. Maybe Giannis cleaned this up. He got the rebound, and then he dunked it home. So that's kind of how the system works. Again, you can either set the clock, have it running, or you can always set it at any time if you want to catch up or anything like that. But I think the key is here having that cheat sheet open. If I can get to it here. But yeah, I would have that cheat sheet open in case you wanted to use keys instead of clicking around. Like here, J for jump shot. If I click J or just type J, it'll automatically be there. Then I can choose the player. But it's really personal preference. Like I said, I like clicking, but you're certainly welcome to use the keys. And then for game control, kind of going from period to period, you can start period, or let's set this here. Let's set this to 0-0 on the clock. And then we'll go game control, start period. Save, okay, so now we're on second. Now we're in the second half, so we can start entering plays for the second half. Like a layup here. You can change possession, stats 1 or stats 2, layup here. We'll go Harden. Good field goal, no assist for Harden. Then the layup's good here in the second half. So that's kind of how you age the period. Once you're done with the game here, you can wrap it up. And then you can finalize, you can balance minutes. If somebody's playing minutes that were way off, or somebody only played 20 minutes and they're getting credited for 30 for some reason, you can manually override them here. So you can always adjust that here. You won't have to do that too much if you have your subs right, or if you're finicky about that, you can, but you can always balance them. You can balance rebounds if you want to. They are balanced, so no issue there. But then you can finalize the game and update team records. So we go to the setup here. Oh no. Oh no. Now we can finalize game and update team records. So see, now they're 1-0. So now the game is finalized, and we're good to go once we set this to 0. So just kind of a quick overview. Again, I would highly recommend getting in this and maybe testing either a live NBA game or testing an archive game that you guys have, just to kind of get familiar with it before your season starts. Obviously, you're in fall sports right now, but I would highly recommend doing that before you start using it live. And then, of course, use us as a resource if you have any questions. But hopefully that made sense. I think there are some questions in the chat, Brad or Charles, if you guys want to.
Yeah, we've got a few. I'll go ahead and start with the main one that we had to start with. Will the system identify if you're doing a men's or women's game, or will you have to switch between quarters and halves for each of those?
Yeah, so I believe you'll have to switch here, but let's test that theory. Actually, I don't have a demo. The basketball demo is just men's and women's, but I believe it doesn't hurt to check. Let me actually pull that up here in a different, I'll stop sharing here for a quick second, but I'll pull that up here and check that out for you guys. But that's a good question.
As you're pulling that up, another question came in. Can you start and stop the clock with just a space bar as well?
Yes, I believe that is one of the keys there to, let me revert back here. But yes, I believe that is one of the keys to answer your question here. I'll just confirm for you guys.
Sure.
Yes, start and stop spacebar. Yeah, if you prefer that instead of clicking.
Okay.
And I'll check that men's, women's real quick here.
Great.
But you can go ahead and if there's another question, feel free to read that off.
Yeah. Can you switch the possession by clicking on the blue/orange button at the top?
Yes. So yeah, if you need to change who's scoring, yeah, it will say like who has possession, stats 1 or stats 2. And then yeah, I believe it's that blue-orange button there, kind of towards the top, like you mentioned. Yes, you can.
Okay. So next question is the rebound on the free throw window the dead ball rebound, or is that the rebound in the free throw window the dead ball rebound on the 1-on-1?
Yeah, so the dead ball rebound, that's interesting. It's kind of up for interpretation, right? How you want to score that. Yes, you could do a defensive rebound team for like a miss if it goes out of bounds for a dead ball. That's what I would recommend doing, and I can show you that here in a second. Okay. But yes, when you do have a missed free throw for a dead ball rebound, I would just put it as a team dead ball rebound if it like squirts out of bounds or something.
Great.
Okay, just verifying here, pulling up a test game for the men's and women's. I believe it defaults to halves. So it will default to halves. So if you are scoring women's, and this is something I can certainly share with our team here. I think the problem with changing that is it is the same program essentially for men's and women's. So I would just be cognizant of that, at least to start, and we can definitely take that offline and try to get it to default to quarters for women, because I know that's pretty universal, I think, at this point, from what I understand.
Alex, is there a hotkey to switch possession?
Yeah, let me pull here up. So yeah, there should be a hotkey. Let's see here. Yeah, so here in the special keys, H to change it to the home team, B to change it to the visitor team. So if you don't want to mess in here, like if you're start over, see HB, you can toggle back and forth between who has possession.
Screen.
Yeah.
Next question. Can you go through the process of inputting a shooting foul and a non-shooting foul?
Yeah, so let's go here. We'll set this clock. Okay, so the fouls are kind of all similar. What you can do is if you have a foul here, and it's foul on Brooke Lopez, submit the time, then you can add a free throw right after that. So the fouls are kind of the same. There's no note or anything to distinguish that. It's just if there's a free throw right after that. So like foul on Brooke Lopez here, who's stats one. Yeah. So then you have a free throw for Durant, good free throw. So it's just kind of that sequence here where foul followed by the free throw. I don't think there's a way to like insinuate that's a shooting foul. There is a way to insinuate it's a technical foul, but not necessarily shooting or an off ball non-bonus foul, if that makes sense.
Can you go ahead and enter just a free throw sequence?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll just start over with this play. So foul by Brooke Lopez here. So we're on stats one for the Nets. So free throw for Durant, I will say shooting two. Good free throw. Then we'll go free throw again. Durant again. Then this is maybe if he misses it and it goes out of bounds, right? So defensive rebound, dead ball, could do that, or team. Dead ball, offensive rebound, free throw missed by Durant, and then the rebound after that. So that kind of shows I think somebody asked that same question earlier. So if that is the case, you can do the dead ball rebound. If Durant misses it and it hits off somebody's hand or something, it goes down the other way. But hopefully that will show it. Hopefully you'd want that instead of just two good made free throws, but that's how you enter a free throw.
Okay. Next question is, if we're a Presto school, are the Presto stats fully integrated? We don't have to plug in any links or numbers on the back end of the website, do we?
Links and numbers, I'm assuming talking about rosters maybe, but yeah,
if you're a prime time for like live stats. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a Presto school, and it's the same thing for the other sports. If you enable it for prime time, you have your rosters in there. As soon as you launch Presto Stats, that live stats link will start populating on your site, on your schedule. And then for non-Presto clients, like you guys have been doing, if you go to that NAI stats site, you can enable prime time there. Then a live stats link will be enabled from that site. But if you do have a Presto site, yeah, it's fairly easy. Just enable it for prime time, and then you'll be good to go.
Okay. Next question is, if a player has to come out due to blood or something like that, and they have to change their jersey in the middle of the game, can you do that without losing the stats associated with the first number?
Yeah, so I was warned this question might be coming. Unfortunately, we can't change the number of a player mid-game. So, I know it happens, but it doesn't happen too often. We just have to keep that same player number. If you start changing numbers in the middle of the game to like 55 or 00 for a blood jersey, that's where things can get out of whack. So I would just recommend keeping that player's stats. Hopefully it doesn't happen too often, but probably not a good idea to like change the number mid-game. So if James Harden gets blood on his jersey for flopping or something, and he changes to number 55, just keep him as number 13 when you're inputting stats. That way you don't have to resync anything after the game. But yeah, I had a feeling that one was coming.
There's a way to do a mass sub, right?
Yeah. So what you can do is game control here and reset players on the court. So if you're not happy with, or the coach isn't happy and you want to change out everybody, you can do that. I would reset players on the court. The thing to keep in mind though is if the player isn't set for participation, their stats won't count. So if you know that like Bruce Brown is coming off the bench, maybe Chioza, Brown, Jordan, Perry, and Green, say they're all coming off the bench, you have to set them as participating so that now here, if we start over, we'll go stats 1. Game control, reset players on the court for stats 1. Now you can put in, you can just highlight who's in the game. So I think we had, so we have these 5 guys that are in the game, submit. Now you'll see them here in the stats. So if you are doing mass substitutions, even if you're doing regular substitutions, just reset players on the court, I think. Then you can also always view the players who's on the court if you don't like this setup. But yeah, I would, instead of doing substitutions, if it's just a 1-for-1, sure, yeah, you can do that. Uncheck and then check who's in. But if you're doing like a line change, I would do game control and reset players on the court.
Okay. On offensive fouls, is that automatically, when you enter an offensive foul, is that automatically entering a turnover, or do you still have to enter that as a turnover?
That's a good question. I don't think offensive fouls will be counted as a turnover automatically. That might be something I have to research, but no. I think you could just enter as the turnover itself, turnover. But yeah, I don't think their offensive fouls are counted because we can't distinguish between fouls between offensive and defensive, right? So unless you have possession here, like, stats 1 is possession, and then we do foul by, stats 2, foul, and then foul by Giannis. I don't think that will automatically count as a turnover. I can look into that for you guys, whoever asked that question, but I don't think it will automatically count.
Next question is, does the possession automatically change after a made basket?
Yeah, so let's take a look here at that sequence. We'll go and delete some plays here. But so here we have the layup good by James Harden, right? So we'll just resubmit this. Submit play. So Harden scores the bucket, although he's not on the floor anymore. It does not automatically change. So, if you do change it, now we're on stats 2 or the Bucks. Now we can add for Giannis. So it will not change automatically.
All right. So,
or there, it looked like it did. I think it did there, actually. Sorry. So I think it's because we were messing around with the editing plays, but there you saw I had a jumper good by Giannis, flipped over to stats 1. So my bad on that. I think I was just
it does auto change. Okay.
Yeah.
So if the shot is good and a foul comes, they would enter the shot, then go back to the start and enter the foul, and then enter in the free throws. Is that how that works?
Yeah. So I would enter the jump shot first. So here you can have, if it's a good field goal, Bruce Brown, no assist, jumper good by Bruce Brown, and then foul on Brook Lopez, then free throw for Bruce Brown here. Good free throw. So kind of that sequence. So jump shot, kind of like how it happens in real time. Jump shot, foul, free throw is how I would enter it.
And because it automatically switches, once it enters the foul on the other team, it'll automatically switch back, I believe, to the team that originally had possession.
All right. Is there a way to differentiate a technical foul from an intentional foul?
Let's see. So we do have I don't think there is. I know intentional fouls come with certain shots, extra, but I don't think there is right now. Again, something I think is worth adding for an intentional foul, just because of the repercussions of that. But no, right now it's team foul or player foul, personal foul. It's kind of all included, or it's a technical foul. So there's no difference between those right now.
Okay. Does the system allow to designate a fast break point or points in the paint or anything like that?
Yeah, so when you have a jump shot or a layup, I guess layup pretty self-explanatory, but jump shot for Middleton here, you can put if it was a fast break point, if it was in the paint and fast break, if they're out on the break. But yeah, you can do that. And then it won't show here really, but it will show in, like when you're doing the live stats, it will show, hey, this was a fast break layup or in the paint bucket.
So if you are using keystrokes for entering stats and not clicking, do you need to enter 0, 1 and have your roster set up to be 0, 1 or 2, or can you just type in the single number?
No, you can type in the single number. I just did here, like if you do J for jump shot and then 1 and then enter, you may have to click enter, I think, to move it over. You can put 01. Like here, let's change the possession here. But if we have the jump shot and then we go 34, it will automatically go over. So yeah, if you want to avoid clicking enter, no harm really in that. Having your stats player numbers, like when you're inputting your roster, having them as 01, if you want to save that extra click, yeah, or save that extra movement, I guess. Yeah, you're free to do that. That won't mess anything up.
Alex, can you walk through searching for a player to find all of their plays? So if you need to make an edit on one of their plays in the game?
Yeah, so I know this has probably come up with volleyball, and that's a little bit harder just because of it's the full play-by-play isn't going to keep everything, like all the rallies and everything. But what I would do is if you find a player who, hey, they should have been participating in this game, I need to remove them. What I would do is I would click full play-by-play here. And then you'll see you have the first and second half entries. And what I do is, nothing fancy. You can just control F for them to see what play they're in. And then if you click the time of that, you can always edit that. So if Giannis wasn't actually the rebounder, he wasn't actually playing, you can give that to Connaughton, I believe. And then that will save the play here, right here. So if you do notice that, if you accidentally put in somebody, basketball, it's a little easier because you're not going back and forth all the time. Each play is kind of its own separate thing. But if you do notice that, I would recommend opening up the full play-by-play and kind of going through here and control Fing, if that's a verb. But yeah.
What happens when you click their name or their number? Just curious.
Yeah, so it shows their plays. So if you want to do it that way, you can. I don't think I've really ever done that too much. But yeah, it shows, I think it should show like what plays they're involved in. So if you had them in multiple plays, yeah, and you want to remove all of them, yeah, that's one way to do it too.
Awesome. Let's see. Let's see. I think there's more confusion on the participation,
Okay.
where you click to get them in the game. Essentially, and I'll help to try to answer this. The question really revolves around if you have to click the participation in order to get them in the game. Really, when you guys are using that roster is basically there so you don't get people that shouldn't be in the game. So essentially your roster should already be set on participation. On if you only have 15 guys that are traveling, you won't have to change that all the time. You'll just enter those as participation. If someone random is on the trip, this will allow someone to go click them as participating, but you won't have to go click everyone for participation every single game. Is that correct, Alex?
Yeah, and I think I misspoke there. And I don't know if anybody caught what I just did there, but when you don't have to set, like, obviously you're not going to know if the 11th or 12th person off the bench is going to play. When you add a substitution and choose somebody to play, like I just chose Dante DiVincenzo here, it will automatically add them as participating. It's when you start entering, maybe you entered a player input and they're not starting or they're not participating. That's where you can get into trouble. But yeah, Brad, you hit the nail on the head here. It's whatever roster you have in Presto is going to automatically populate in here. So if you have a player, and you can adjust this in Presto even, if you have a player who's suspended or not off the team or not on the team anymore, and you don't want them to even show up here anymore, in Presto, you can adjust your roster. See if I can pull it up here. In Presto, you can adjust your roster so that, let's go to basketball. Like if Bruce Brown is suspended and you don't want him to show up, you can edit him and select him as not active so that the next time we launch Presto Stats, Bruce Brown won't be in there, so that there's no confusion on if somebody accidentally subbed him in or what have you, he won't be able to even be selected for a sub. So it's all pulling off of who's active in your Presto roster. What you put into Presto, that's what will show up there. And if they're subbed in, they'll be set as participating. But I guess where you could get into trouble is if you sub in somebody who wasn't supposed to be, maybe that affects their eligibility or something like that. That's where, if you have any concerns before the game, I would just set them as not active in Presto before you launch the stats.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up real quick. This is not any departure from what DaxStats did, for just to speak in kind of DaxStats terms. DaxStats had an active and inactive setting. So it's the same thing. So it's not like you have to go click something special for this. So I don't want to get caught in the minutia of it, but yeah, it's the exact same thing. So if there was someone that was marked inactive and all of a sudden they showed up in a game, they would have to go through and mark them active. Otherwise they wouldn't even be shown. So, question on technicals again, is there a non-bench technical foul, flagrant foul, coach technical, or are there options for any of those, or is it just technical foul?
Yeah, so you can do technical foul, and then once you choose technical foul, you can do a team technical foul. I don't even know if that's a thing, but you can do it on the bench technical foul too. So you can do it as a player who's literally on the bench, or they're on the court, or team. But yeah, you can adjust it from there when you're adding a foul. Once you choose technical foul, then you can choose who's on the bench. If it's a team technical foul, looks like somebody's actually in here, but oh well. So yeah, there's a team technical foul, so you can add that. If that's the case, you can also choose a technical foul on a player who's either on the court or on the bench too. Yeah.
Do technical fouls automatically count as a personal foul?
Yes, they do. Obviously, if you assign them to a player, yes, they will.
Next question is, how would you label a jump ball that changes possession to give the ball to the defense?
Jump ball that changes possession to give the ball to the defense. Let's see here. So
I believe that's just a turnover steal.
Yeah, I think you're right, Eric, whoever jumped in there. Yeah, so turnover. I think that's the best way to input it. Again, something we can definitely look to add to be more specific. But yeah, I think for turnover or steal, like Eric said here, you can add a steal there. But yeah, that would be the jump ball, change of possession, if that happened.
Alex, it looks like there was some confusion on the dead ball rebound. So maybe you could cover that again, but the question specifically is, if a person misses the front end of a second shot foul, should they just click rebound and then the choice will come up for them, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if there's a foul, DeAndre Jordan fouls DiVincenzo, right? He's shooting a free throw. So one-on-one, miss, defensive rebound, and then choose, maybe DeAndre Jordan gets the rebound back. But that's, yeah. So foul on DeAndre Jordan. DiVincenzo missed the front end of the one-on-one.
No, Alex. They want to know what happens if you miss the free throw, you hit the rebound button. Does the dead ball rebound option automatically pop up if it's a two-shot foul?
Oh, if you hit the rebound up option. So, okay. So defensive rebound. Yeah. Dead ball. Is that what you're looking for?
There we go.
Cool. Yeah. So hopefully that answered it. But yeah, if you do click rebound, dead ball will pop up.
Just make sure that it's an offensive rebound side.
Sam, you sound like a robot. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I mean, the rebound.
It's all good.
It's an offensive rebound on the right side.
We're having a hard time hearing you, Sam. Maybe you could type your message in the chat.
I think what he asked was, do you have to designate between offensive and defensive dead ball rebounds?
Oh, you could hear that? Good on you there. Let me edit here. So yeah, so choose a shooter, free throw result. Yeah, if you choose offensive rebound, you can choose dead ball. It's just kind of preference. It will force you to choose one or the other at some, no matter how you get there. So you could either choose it from here or you could choose it from here, depending on like what keys you're comfortable with. But yeah, you'll always have the choice to choose dead ball.
And I'm just we're getting, I think there's still some confusion on participation. So just to make sure everyone's clear, just because you're marked as in participation as a participant, that just means you're a potential participant in that game. It does not mean like football that you are entered in on a participation chart somewhere that will affect your eligibility, because it's not saying you played in the game. It is only saying you are eligible to be entered into that game. It does not count as participation. So just to be very clear on that, this is, again, let's not overthink this. This is just that you are eligible to participate in that game. The only reason that is there is in case you have players who traditionally, you have a roster of 35 for your basketball team, there are only 16 people that are eligible on that team. You don't have to put them all on your roster. That's all that's doing. So just want to clear that question up. Let's see. So when you miss the front end of a two-shot foul, you should be able to click dead ball rebound at that point. That's a rebound, it's a dead ball. So
yep.
That is another question. Okay. Are technical fouls added to the team foul total?
That's a good question. For rules, probably somebody in the room knows better than I do. Are technical fouls team fouls? I thought that was only if it's a personal foul.
If it's a class A technical where technical counts as a personal, then it should count as a team foul.
Yeah, and because it's assigned to somebody, the team foul will count in the team fouls. That's what I was thinking, Eric. But good call out there. Yeah. So if it's a team technical foul, or on the bench or not class A, I don't think it will count towards like the 7 to get into the bonus. But yeah.
Okay. Comment here, technical fouls should not automatically count as personal fouls unless there's a way to designate between the types of technical fouls. That's going to be a rules question. So make sure you guys are up to speed on rules on that, as Alex is going to enter this tech.
Yeah, so like team technical foul, I don't think that will count as a personal foul.
Okay. So we'll jump back to kind of where we were a little bit earlier. So if you do have a technical foul on a player, you need to make sure you understand what the rule is. So you enter that as a personal foul if it's supposed to be a personal foul. All right, next question is, in the past, officials have used our stat entry to check jump ball possession if the book gets confused and whatnot. if we can't click jump ball, how do we help the officials on that? Is there a comment in the game control that you can enter a comment there?
So I don't think there is. I think that's one I'll have to kind of look into to try to get that, try to publish that. I feel like there should be a way to do that. But there's no like game control to, besides changing possession, to really help with that. Maybe I think it might show in the XM in the live stats when it changes possessions, but I'll have to check into that for you, Brad. I can do more research on that one.
Okay. How do you enter a lane violation or a violation on a free throw?
It's a good one. I think we might have to go a little ad hoc here, but free throw. So miss free throw, right? Rebound, dead ball rebound. Yeah, I don't think there's no like input for a lane violation. What I think we can do is get that comment feature going for these.
But doesn't that automatically make it a turnover? Is a lane violation on a free throw not a turnover?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the official rule on that. I wouldn't think so, but I could be wrong on that. I don't think it's a turnover. I could be wrong, not the foremost rules expert, but I don't think that's a turnover. But I could be wrong. I think what would clear this up is if we got that comment feature in there, so that if that does happen and there's a missed rebound, you can put in lane violation, and then that way viewers aren't confused. Hey, why is this person shooting 3 on a 2-shot foul or something like that? So yeah, I can definitely take that to our devs to take a look at.
Question: if there's an advanced editing button like there is in scoring plays with Presto Stats Volleyball.
Advanced editing.
So Volleyball Stats has an advanced editing feature. I believe that was only added for Presto Volleyball because of some editing specifics in that sport. I
believe so. I guess I'm not quite sure what you're referring to with advanced editing. Maybe I'm just thinking of a different term. But when you do edit a play, I don't know if this is advanced editing or not, but you can kind of change the flow there. You can also insert plays if you want to insert it here, and then it's all based off of what time you put in, where it'll insert within the play-by-play. So it should be a pretty similar flow to volleyball in terms of editing plays. It shouldn't be too different.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So we've got a question that's concerning volleyball. I've got a little pause on asking this one, but I mean, it could come up in basketball. Guys, just a reminder, please keep these questions to basketball because we only have so many opportunities to have these. A player had stats, didn't play. They found all of her stats and took her out. They kept getting an error message when they attempted to take her out of the participation report, so she wouldn't show up in the box score on the game. Then we searched her name, couldn't find her anywhere, but still she was showing up in the box score. So if that type of situation happens in basketball, what would you do there?
Yeah, so I'd say that's pretty, that's probably only going to happen in volleyball just because the nature, like when you're opening full play-by-play in volleyball, you're not going to see the full rally. If you're going back and forth, you're not going to see every input. So if that person was somehow inputted in a rally, that's probably why you're getting that error. Now, what you can do and what I can do, and if you're comfortable doing it, you can open up the XML, like the raw file, the XML, the actual coding of it, and edit so that that player doesn't have a game played, they don't have any stats, and that will override everything. If you're not comfortable doing that, feel free to send it my way. And I can kind of manually work through it so that you don't have to open up, every rally to check if player X was in that. That's probably the easier route to go. If that makes sense for whoever asked that. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going through all of these. And then can you walk through entering a play just with keystrokes? Usually
Yeah, sure. I guess it's a little hard to see, like you can't see my keyboard, but you'll see here like the underscores, like for J for jump shot, lay for layup. So I'll try to keep my mouse away to keep me honest. But what you can do is layup, and then I press 6. Again, because it's single digits, you have to click enter after that. And then you'll see there's a bunch of keystrokes here. Whatever's highlighted is what you want to put. So if you miss this 3-pointer, put X. Offensive, let's go defensive rebound. Let's go by 22. So there, missed 3-point shot by DeAndre Jordan, defensive rebound by Chris Middleton. That was all with keystrokes. Again, I don't think it's too much of a difference, but if you prefer one or you're used to one, if you're used to keystrokes, yeah, it'd probably be helpful to use. But yeah, whatever is highlighted here is, you know, if you get lost or on the fly, what you want to use, you can do that there. Or refer to the cheat sheet here. Helpful too.
Question on just a potential addition in the future of adding a jump ball or lane violation button, things like that. That, I mean, even though we can get to the result of that play, I think having that option to put it into the play-by-play probably not a bad idea.
For sure. No, I'm with you there. I think those are, especially jump balls, in this level of basketball happens quite a bit. So yeah, I think that's definitely.
We never had that option in back stats. Back stats, it was always turnover steal if it happened to go to the other way. So there's really nothing different about that.
Stats. We had jump ball in DAC stats.
We did. Not on 2-click.
I think there's a difference between 2-click and the older play-by-play version.
Yeah, but no, Brad, I think that's a valid point, and I think that's something we can definitely push to get. But yeah, I'm with you guys there. I think that'd be more than just a nice to have. I think that'd be a crucial part in kind of the play-by-play and following along for sure.
Okay. I believe we've gotten through all of the questions in the chat. I'm going to open it up to anyone. If anyone has any further questions they would like to unmute and ask any questions, feel free.
Hey, Brad, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
So if, you know, you're going to have turnovers and steals and everything like that, so what would be the proper way to assess that? Would you go turnover then steal, or would you do steal then turnover, or does it matter, or is there a difference?
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically preference, you know, how specific you want to be. Yeah, I mean, you could do steal first. You know, if you want to have a steal by somebody, if you want to give credit, yeah, I would probably do steal. And then, you know, turnover, I guess, yeah. So turnover by Bobby Portis, but then that's Blake Griffin's steal. If you want to do those in tandem, obviously you can have a turnover without a steal. So yeah, if you want to put a steal or if it calls for it, I would do it. It doesn't really matter if you do it before or after, just kind of what flow makes sense for you guys. Yeah.
Hey, Alex, can you walk through a block shot and a rebound?
Sure. So we had Blake Griffin get that steal there. We'll go block. So it automatically defaults to the defense, right? So we'll say Giannis gets a block. It'll be a defensive rebound or offensive rebound, I guess. So blocked by Giannis, offensive rebound team. But yeah, it should default to, or it should read whoever has the ball. So like right here, stats 1 is the ball. If you click block, you'll get to choose who's on the defense to have that block, if that helps.
Can you do, because of Ramonda's comment here, can you do a block and then a shot, or does it always have to be shot and then the block in order to make it balance?
Yeah, so that's probably best practice instead of just doing a block out of nowhere, right? Yeah, I mean, I would put a block instead of a shot. Like if you put a jump shot and a miss, you know, you can put a block there if you want. Again, you know, just how detailed you want to get. So you can do it. Yeah, you can do it both ways.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's not going to all be one play, right? It's still going to separate. So jumper miss, block by Giannis, defensive rebound.
Why would block even be an option unless there's a shot entered first, statistically?
That's a good point. Whoever asked that, I think that's a valid point. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what would cause, or I can't even think of a scenario where that would happen.
Nick, my guess is that in case you just had to add in a block, if you missed it in some way, it's probably just listed right there.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's because it's a separate entry or a separate play type anyway. So yeah, I think you're on it there, Brad. But yeah, you could do jump shot and missed, you know, jump shot missed. Problem is that you have to put a rebound then. So, but yeah, it's probably for entering after the fact. I think that's a good deduction there.
On the jump shot, wasn't one of the options a block instead of a rebound? And then would that automatically then trigger the rebound after the block?
So sorry, say that again.
There's that option right there for the block instead of the rebound.
Right.
Does that trigger then the rebound after that?
Yeah, so after you put who got the block, then you'll have to choose what rebound type. Yeah.
Hey, Alex, can you do it the same way except choose the rebound first and see if it prompts a block? I'm curious. Is there certain ways people like to enter things? So rebound.
Yeah. So
missed
rebound first. Probably missed.
Yeah.
So missed, and then defensive rebound. I don't think it will say no. Yeah.
So so guys, if you wanted to all populate in that manner, and I think most of you guys, especially if you're using two click and DAC stats, would go change the way it would prompt you anyway to block and then rebound. So it automatically does it here. Okay. The question is how to access the demo for basketball. That's at tryprestostats.com. The password is tryprestostats, all lowercase.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll mention there is the username here. It's going to be unique. So it's Presto Stats at prestosports.com. And then like Brad said, try Presto Stats, all lowercase for the password, excuse me. But if you guys aren't familiar with this, this is what it'll look like when you log in. And it's not just limited to basketball. Obviously, there's all of our sports in here that you're welcome to try out. The only thing is you can only create games using Stats 1 and Stats 2. So you see there's a bunch of games you can either like pick up on in the middle of if you want to do that by clicking Launch Presto Stats, or you could create your own game, kind of like what I just did here. Only thing is that Stats 1 and Stats 2 have to be the two teams playing. But otherwise, it'll be like game day. It'll function the same way.
I'm going to drop in the direct link for the FAQs. This is a common question, and I just want to make sure everyone knows that we do have an FAQ document that answers these types of things. We've pushed it out several times, but I'll go ahead and put it into the chat so you guys know exactly where to get that. That has all the information on Presto Stats. Further questions? Yes, this video will be on the YouTube channel. So we'll have that posted in the next day or so. All right. Any more questions? Yeah.
A little confused on technicals here. So when we input it, it doesn't count as a personal foul. But if it's a Class A tech that is supposed to be a personal foul, do we input both a tech and a personal?
Yes.
So in the play-by-play, it's going to look like that person got called for a technical and a personal foul to people watching the game. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Further questions? All right. Alex, Charles, thank you so much for your time, everyone. I want to tell you how much I appreciate your time and asking a lot of great questions today. I'm sure more are going to be coming up as the season goes along. So, so make sure that you have more questions to let Presto know. With that, we'll go ahead and conclude today's webinar, and thanks again.